Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Tactical Tuesdays. This is 2026, January 6th, our first Tactical Tuesday of the year. And we're trying out a little bit of a different format today. I've also invited a guest, Rebekah Barton, our Chief Visibility Officer. Rebekah, if you can say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, and so the purpose of today's Tactical Tuesday is really talk about what visibility looks like now in 2026. How do firms stand out? What has changed in, I guess we'll call it the traditional SEO side? How have narratives changed how firms, or at least our clients, are expressing themselves, how they're attracting the right type of clients? Hear it all the time, hey, I'm not charging enough. I'm saying yes to everybody. And the reason you're doing that is you have not set up what I would consider a very targeted, niche focused narrative that actually communicates with the audience and the type of clients you want to bring in. So today we're actually going to go over some different case studies of three clients we've brought live on our platform in the last year or so, and just talk about some of the results, kind of the methodology of how we put this together. How do we work with clients? How do we accomplish creating a narrative, for example? What are the things that we do to help them stand out and be visible in ChatGPT and tools like that? How do we make them look better in Google, especially with the blue links kind of disappearing? So there's a couple main themes that I want to make sure we talk about today. So search is just not rankings anymore, okay? There's a lot of things that now go into that. It still matters about your Google local pack. Reviews are a huge deal, but now there's things like AI summaries, and you need to start understanding, how do I feed content? How do I get my brand involved in those conversations? The other thing you need to understand is prospects are now kind of qualifying themselves much earlier. If there's all this knowledge available on the internet now, it's much easier for them to ask questions. And we want you, the trusted pro, to be the source for clarity and the right answers. So visibility today equals clarity plus proof plus consistency. So we're going to talk a little bit. So let's talk about, what is a chief visibility officer, Rebekah, and what does that actually mean when you're working with clients, day to day. So let's start there. If they have not had meetings with you, every client that goes through our system should be going through an onboard process that Rebekah is involved in, and just kind of explain, what is our philosophy? How do we get these incredible outcomes? And let's kind of walk through it.
So I work with our VIP clients, which are kind of the upper echelons of our clientele who are paying for things like additional SEO services, custom narratives, additional geo services, which is generative engine optimization. If you have talked to me lately, you've heard me say that about 80% of my focus now is on AI search, which is geo. That's where we want you guys ranking. That's where the world is going. And then about 20% of my focus remains on traditional SEO mapping systems, geolocation, these sorts of things that you've probably heard about for years. So my job on the day to day largely looks like dealing with a lot of clients, especially during our busy season. But there is a lot more to it than that. In order to help our clients in the best possible way, I have to really have my finger on the pulse of what's happening in tech, in SEO, in geo, in AI, how things are shifting, where the industry is going, not just within tax and accounting, but in the tech field as a whole. So I spend a lot of time reading, researching, learning about things so that you don't have to, so that the team here at CountingWorks PRO can bring you all of the back end work. I call it the nerd stuff. So you don't have to learn what's happening in tech, how the internet is changing. We can handle all of those foundational pieces for you so that you can really focus on growing your business. So in a little nutshell, that's what I do between spending time on the phone with our clients, optimizing their websites, and kind of helping them be the best they can be on the internet.
Yeah, it's the world's biggest laboratory because we're able to test out what works, what doesn't. We put out, even with our AI technology and Max, when we're creating content for our clients, we're able to see the results immediately. And hey, you know what? That was pretty good. We nailed it here. This is working a little bit better. Let's make some adjustments. And that's how we do this, to kind of fine tune. So instead of one client, like an agency, trying to guess, and an agency doesn't have thousands and thousands of clients, to be able to see real-time results, that's a huge benefit of working with CountingWorks, obviously, and Rebekah. So let's talk about, before we get into like the AI search, I think one of the biggest things, or the biggest opportunities for everyone, is the biggest ROI is right in your current existing client base, right? And our first case study we're going to talk about is Barky LLC. Rebekah will kind of go through her discussions and kind of the starting points of what this client was looking for, and then kind of some of the outcome and what the results are. But basically, what we are doing with our playbooks, if you have not played around with our automated playbooks, they are designed to basically be an entire marketing funnel that runs on its own behind the scenes. You don't have to do anything other than set it up and choose the target audience. And what does it do? It's creating content for your blog. It's doing social media posts. It's adding articles to your client newsletter and or even sending outbound emails. So these are like upsell emails. So think of this as, I'll give two examples of advisory. One could be you're a bookkeeper right now that has mostly hourly clients. Let's say you have 50 clients. You want to push them to advisory. You would turn on that playbook, the bookkeeping to CFO advisory playbook, and it would automatically start generating all of this content. And what happens, surprise, surprise, is the phone starts ringing and you're upselling clients to advisory. You add one client, that's $2,000 a month, that's 24 grand. You add five, you just added $100,000 in revenue. So explain kind of the methods you use with Barky, and then kind of what the game plan was and what we did here.
Yeah, so with Barky, one of the client's big focuses was on advisory work. He really wanted to get more into virtual CFO services, kind of assisting businesses with higher level types of services. And so he turned on, with our help, the playbook for advisory upsell. That in turn started this automatic drip campaign. He didn't have to do anything. It was set it and forget it. Went out to all of his current clients, his entire client base, and he did notice a massive uptick in people calling him. So we got back on the phone with him and started talking about, how the playbook had helped him. He said people were mentioning the emails. They were excited about the emails that were going out. They were excited about the service offering. And he did successfully upsell many of his existing clients. So to your point, Lee, playbooks are huge for that. They're a great way to upsell. You're not having to really contact people individually if you don't have time. That was a big thing with Barky as well. He did not have the time to sit and start manually calling all of his clients trying to upsell them. So playbooks were a really good way for him to just set it, forget it. They did the upselling for him, and all he had to do was close the deal with people who already trusted him. So it's a huge game changer for people who are looking to make more money without having to do outside marketing and without having to spend a lot of time on marketing to their existing client bases.
Yeah, so I mean, think about it. First of all, you need to make sure that you have the systems in play. So processes, we've done growth-minded accountants about this. I repeatedly have been posting this on our blogs, but and then even I created a 10 series nano kind of advisory, how to sell advisory, how to systemize, how to create processes. So we've given you all the information on how to do it, but you need to have, I think, a process in place in order to scale, in order to sign up multiple clients that way. What we obviously see is most firms do not have the time to consistently market them. So it's just, oh, let me try to upsell this client because they're on the phone, right? So what happens is growth depends on manual effort. That is not sustainable. That's not a process. It's not a scalable business. So, when we came in and said, okay, how can we create consistent advisory conversations? We'll enable the playbook. And what's great is it's continuing to market year round. Okay. And it creates inbound interest without chasing. So you're not like a salesperson dialing for advisory. It's educational. It is letting people self-select, and it kind of like a soft sell. And it's visibility that runs in the background. So I think that is really, really good. So you got to ask yourself, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on capital advisory, for an example? I want to help my clients decide if an SBA loan or some sort of line of credit is right for them. I want to take my tax prep clients to tax advisory. So you guys kind of sit back, think about the strategy. And Rebekah, when you talk to clients, kind of how do you help guide them? And then we can say, okay, let's turn this on at launch. If you're already launched, obviously, you need to come back to us and say, hey, I want to talk about advisory, or I want to talk about these automated playbooks. But what are the kind of questions you're asking to kind of dial in what people should be doing?
Yeah, so we're asking what their ultimate goals are. We're asking who their niche audience is. These are also great. Playbooks are great for reaching people within particular niches. So real estate, law firms, doctors, that kind of thing, dentists. That's something we try to hone in on, is who your niche is and who you really have the potential to really upsell or even sell to in the first place. So that's big for us. We also want to know what services you want to focus on, right? Having a huge drop down menu of 15 services is not the way to go anymore. You want to niche into maybe, I often tell people 3 to 5 kind of core services that we can build out really great content for. And then from there, we kind of hone in on, okay, now that we know the services, who is that target audience really? Sometimes people come to us with a vague idea of who they want to serve, and we try to help them hone in a little bit more on what's really going to work for them as far as service offerings and general location they want to serve. Some firms are completely virtual. They can serve the whole nation. In reality, most AI systems and SEO systems love geolocation. They love geo-targeting. So a lot of times we work through kind of explaining to people that local tends to rank better. So we focus a lot on all of those areas. I would say services, niche audience, and geolocation are kind of the trifecta of things that we hit on during initial calls. And then, of course, if people have additional questions, they can come back if they have specific issues that they need assistance with down the road.
Yeah, and that's a long way of saying there's minimal client input. You just figure out what do we want to upsell to. We turn it on. The campaigns launch. They run continuously. Message is aligned to these advisory outcomes. There's no ongoing marketing burden for your firm, so it's really easy. And what you should see is increased website activity after the playbooks go live. You're going to have prospects replying directly to the campaigns. You're going to get weekly advisory conversations happening, and growth feels automated instead of overwhelming. So you got to think of it this way. Advisory didn't change, visibility did. So, what should firms learn from Barky is if your services are invisible, right? They don't really exist. So automation isn't a volume. It's about consistency. So let's move on now to another client, Paul Haglin and Company. So explain real quick what Paul was looking for and kind of how did you put together a game plan for him?
So Paul is a local firm. We were just talking about local visibility. They have served their area for many, many years. They're in Minnesota. And what they really, really wanted was to just rank better within their local area and really develop a strong local presence. So you saw on their website, they have a picture of their office. That's great. We advise that. It's great from a search standpoint. It's great. And there's a picture of Paul. It's great from a UI standpoint. People really know who they're working with. We have this very clear who we serve section here. Talking about their primary target audiences, which were people who are nearing retirement, and then professional service firms like lawyers, local doctors. So they really wanted to focus on getting more local clients and just being the very top firm in their area. So what we did for them was create really strong geolocation content. I know that within there about us, I remember talking a lot about their area of Minnesota, kind of making a lot of references to lakes and woods and all of these different things that are kind of important to them locally that will really help people to connect to the firm. So that's something we take into account whenever we're working with you. We make local references. We make sure that this is going to connect with the people who find you. They have been very successful in local search. So we track their local searches for them. That's part of the service. And they rank #1 for many, many local terms. I believe their average rank across Google and Bing is like 3. So they're doing extremely well for dozens of local search terms. So that's exactly what we want to see in these geo-optimized and SEO-optimized websites that are optimized for geolocation and local search. They're also ranking really well within ChatGPT. We've done a lot of testing. They pop up first almost every search we've done. So a lot of success there in the local area.
Right. So you took all this from your initial onboard call.
Yes.
So how did you implement this without overwhelming the firm, right? You basically, this is done for you concierge services. So you're talking about a lot of, I'm going to say a little bit of a technical terms, but the reality is you're building, once we get all the base points in, right? So we build a base, we kind of set it out there, we see what works, what doesn't. We can also do localized playbooks. So we're creating content, FAQs localized per firm. And with our AI technology, we're able to take your personality, your tone, your background, your location, and create content at scale here. So that's a huge deal as well. But I just want to make sure people understand this is, again, is not a big lift for our clients. We're doing all this work. It's basically agency level eats AI automation, but kind of explain, how long did it take you? 15, 30 minutes to get this information out to get
Yeah,
started?
so when a VIP client does an onboard, you meet with me and Patrick. We tag team you and we do it well. So we have a system built in. So Patrick will do about the first 10 or 15 minutes. I do the last 15 to 20. You're on the phone with us 30, 35 minutes. If you have a lot to say or a lot of questions, sometimes it'll go 45, but that's about the absolute max for an onboard. We have a really good system. We know exactly how to get the information we need. We've done this a lot and we've done it a long time together. So you'll have a very simple experience. You don't need to prepare anything ahead of time. You just come to us and be ready to tell us about your firm. I have very specific questions that I know I need the answers to. And then from that, I can extrapolate all of the information I need and that my team needs to do what we need to do to get you this content, to get you the foundational stuff that you need. We build out citations for you, and it's all hands off for you. I tell people they can be as involved as they want within this process. If you want to then spend 30 minutes on the phone with me the next week, really diving into it so you can go in and, create your own content as well, I am happy to do that. But if you also say, Rebekah, I never want to talk to you again, just do your job, I'm fine with that too.
Well, we like talking to you, but the idea here is we want to get it up and we have machines that it's an ongoing thing. So it's not just a one-time event. I think the big deal here is local visibility beats what I'll call a cookie cutter generic SEO every time. We have the skills, we have the technology, we're automating this for their blog feeds. We're actually able to put local keywords, targeted keywords into all your blog articles. They're all customized to you. They're unique, right? It's not like cookie cutter, everyone's getting the same thing. So huge change there. So let's move on to case study number three, which is Dennis and Blish CPA. And theirs was all about AI and local discovery, right? So what was different about their website or their firm's situation? We needed more than rankings. They wanted to be recommended, right? They just didn't want to show up in the blue links, and they were very much a forward thinking firm. So, what are you actually optimizing for, and how do we get ChatGPT to start talking about them in the conversations that are occurring? I mean, I look at it as ChatGPT is kind of like a 24/7 sales rep if you do this right, but kind of explain how that works, how local discovery works, AI driven, trust signals that help convert as well.
Absolutely. So with them, the story was huge. They had a great story and they wanted to tell it. They specialize in, they're really involved in the local community, which is a big thing for AI. If you can start saying, hey, we, have a booth at this festival and write articles about that. We do this particular community event. We're involved in this community organization. So we really focus heavily here on their local involvement. They serve a lot of local agriculture firms, a lot of farmers. That was big for them. The founder is actually married to a farmer, so she has a lot of personal experience, which I believe is in her About Me on the website. So the difference between this and Hagland is that we were so focused on story here because we wanted AI to look at this firm when someone is getting a chat GPT and they're saying, hey, I'm looking for an agriculture tax firm in Indiana. We wanted them to be the first firm that was recommended. So we focused very heavily as well. Lee, you mentioned our blog automation and our custom blogs. That was big for them. During their dashboard training session, which all VIP clients do with Patrick, they worked very heavily on putting prompts in that will customize all of their blogs, make sure that they're hitting on that niche audience. And then as people search ChatGPT and other AI systems, they are able to rank really well and be recommended on a regular basis because they really are the premier firm kind of in their area. For this particular service. They're very well known, they're very involved, and they just wanted to take that local involvement and translate it to the internet and be the top firm on ChatGPT as well.
So let's talk about some of these signals and trust signals and why it's so important to show so much personality on your website, to have these personal, talking about background. I grew up as a farmer or whatever the background is. These are trust signals and AI signals. Why is this so important or relevant? And why does consistency show up more in ChatGPT and tools like that?
So, a big difference between Google traditional SEO and geo systems like ChatGPT is that GPT actually has a relationship of sorts with its user in a way that Google never did. So, it understands the user's personality and preferences in a way that traditional SEO never understood or could even fathom. So, because of that, you need to be injecting more personality as well. And the reason for that is that GPT is going to be looking for people who align with their users' preferences and needs. By having a cohesive narrative that spans all of your social media profiles, your blog, your website narrative, you're saying, hey, look, I am the best fit for this person based upon their personality and needs because of who I am as a firm owner. Without that personality, ChatGPT doesn't know who the best fit is. So they're going to go off of basic things like how many reviews do you have? And that's still important, but narrative trumps all when it comes to AI search. It wants to know how you can help its user. Because at the end of the day, it is just customer service, right? It wants to recommend the best fit for the client's needs. But AI knows its user in a different way than we've ever experienced before. So you need to change your content to inject your personality in a way that maybe you never have before to really tell these systems who you are, what you do, how you do it differently, and how you do it better than anybody else.
Yeah, and if you're a current client and you onboarded, let's say over a year ago before we started and changed all of these new tools and capabilities and even our own processes, 100% reach out to Alex or Rebekah or just the customer success team and schedule a kind of a refresh tune-up meeting. And this is what we'll do. This is the framework. We'll clarify your message. We'll align your visibility channels. We'll help build proof. We're going to help remove friction in the buying process, right? And then we're going to automate consistency. This is really important. So if you feel hard, you're working hard, but you're still somewhat feeling invisible, this is exactly what Rebekah and our team help solve every single day. If you're new to CountingWorks Pro, I'm sure a lot of this sounds completely foreign because I doubt it unless you've hired a $30,000 a year agency. No one is doing this. None of our competitors are doing this. You're not getting this in DIY. There is an absolute strategy to this. And we have set it up to automate with the power of Max, our AI technology, to do this at scale. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to help@countingworkspro.com as an existing client, or if you're new to us and just want to check out our platform, see if it's the right fit for you, go to countingworkspro.com and we'll gladly have a nice conversation with you. Thanks again for being a client of CountingWorks and listening to another Tactical Tuesday. Until the next one, thank you.